Have you ever felt completely thrown off balance by your twin flame connection, especially when the roles suddenly reverse? One moment, the divine masculine seems cold, distant, and emotionally unavailable. The next, he's chasing after the very connection he once ran from. It's confusing, it's intense, and it leaves you questioning everything. Why is this happening now? What does it mean? And where is it all leading? In today's video, we're going to unravel one of the most misunderstood yet powerful phases of the twin flame journey, the moment the divine masculine becomes the chaser. You'll discover why this shift happens, what triggers this awakening, and how it fits into the larger divine plan. We'll take you deep into the energetic and emotional transformations that drive this unexpected turnaround, and what it reveals about your connection. By the end of this video, you'll gain clarity, peace, and a deeper understanding of your path. You'll no longer feel lost or blindsided by the masculine's sudden pursuit. Instead, you'll see this phase for what it truly is, a sacred sign of progress, healing, and reunion. Watching this could change the way you experience your twin flame journey, giving you the insight you need to step into your own transformation with grace and power. So stay with us until the very end, because what you discover today might be the missing piece you've been searching for. Number 1. The resistance of the divine masculine. In the early and often longest phases of the twin flame journey, the divine masculine is typically the one who resists the connection. While the divine feminine often senses the spiritual significance of the bond from the beginning, recognizing its depth and divine purpose, the masculine tends to struggle. Rooted more firmly in the physical world, he is driven by logic, reason, achievement, and the need for external validation. Emotions that run deep or connections that defy logic can feel unsettling, even threatening. The idea of surrendering to something as intangible and uncontrollable as spiritual love challenges the very foundation of the masculine's identity. As a result, he may retreat, consciously or unconsciously, into denial, avoidance, or emotional detachment. This resistance isn't rooted in a lack of love, but in fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of losing control, fear of being consumed by something he doesn't fully understand. And so, he runs. He distracts himself with work, relationships, material pursuits, anything that keeps him from facing the truth of the connection. But the soul cannot outrun itself forever. Sooner or later, a turning point arrives. It often comes in the form of a profound emotional loss, a spiritual awakening, or a life-altering event that shakes the masculine to his core. Sometimes this shift is triggered when the divine feminine, after waiting and giving with an open heart, finally turns inward, reclaiming her power, choosing herself, and walking away from the dynamic that once drained her. Her silence becomes the loudest sound he's ever heard. In the space she leaves behind, the masculine is confronted with the very emptiness he's tried to ignore. No longer shielded by distractions, he must face the void, the ache of separation, the longing, the truth of what he once pushed away. And it is within this raw and vulnerable space that the awakening begins. The connection he once feared becomes the one thing he yearns for most. The love he tried to escape becomes the very force calling him home. As we witness the divine masculine's resistance slowly transform into awakening, it's important to recognize the deep spiritual purpose behind this phase. This part of the journey isn't about rejection, it's about preparation. The separation, the silence, the emotional walls, all serve to break down the old self so that something greater can emerge. Before we move forward into what happens when the masculine begins to chase what he once ran from, take a moment to reflect on this stage. Have you experienced this resistance in your own journey, either within yourself or from someone you love? We'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts in the comments below, or simply type, "I honor the divine timing of our awakening." This simple sentence carries a powerful energy of trust, surrender, and faith in the journey. Number 2. The trigger of loss and awakening. One of the most powerful turning points in the twin flame journey occurs when the divine masculine faces the looming possibility of losing the divine feminine forever. This moment does not arise suddenly. It builds silently over time. For months, or even years, the feminine energy pours love into the connection, holding space with unwavering faith, initiating communication, and offering her heart despite the pain of separation or inconsistency. But eventually, something shifts. She reaches a threshold, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. She no longer seeks validation from the connection. She stops chasing. Instead, she turns inward, focusing on her own healing, reclaiming her power, and nurturing her inner light. This shift is not just behavioral, it is vibrational. The divine masculine may not hear her say goodbye, but he feels the silence echoing through his soul. He senses the absence of her energy, her warmth, and her unconditional presence. It is in this emptiness that the divine masculine confronts a deep, often unconscious fear, the fear of abandonment. For perhaps the first time, he realizes what he stands to lose. The one constant presence he assumed would always be there is no longer waiting. This loss is not just emotional, it stirs something ancient and unresolved within him. The pain of her absence becomes a mirror, forcing the masculine to look inward. He begins to reflect on his past actions, the emotional walls, the distance, the rejection of a love so pure and sacred that he once couldn't fully receive it, and slowly, clarity emerges. He sees that the divine feminine was not just another person who loved him, she was a once-in-a-lifetime soul connection, a mirror to his own divinity, a source of unconditional love that asked only for presence in return. The realization is overwhelming. The thought of her slipping away, of her heart no longer beating in rhythm with his, ignites a powerful awakening. No longer content to run, he feels an urgent pull to reconnect. The emotions he once buried rise to the surface, raw, real, and undeniable. He is now the chaser, not out of desperation, but out of an awakened recognition that this love was never meant to be dismissed. It was always sacred, and now he must find the courage to express what he never could before: his truth, his regret, and his desire to reunite with the one soul who never stopped believing in him. Number 3. Energetic reversal and emotional shifts. The twin flame journey transcends surface-level emotions and physical attraction. It is a deeply energetic experience that plays out on a soul level. In the early stages of the connection, this energy is often imbalanced. The divine feminine, more attuned to the spiritual essence of the bond, pours her heart, time, and energy into nurturing the relationship. She senses the higher purpose, the sacredness of the union, and often initiates contact, expresses love, and holds space, believing in the connection even when it is met with silence or distance. On the other hand, the divine masculine may not yet be ready to receive this intensity. Rooted more in the realm of logic, control, and emotional suppression, he may resist or withdraw from what he does not fully understand. The feminine's open heart can feel overwhelming to him, not because he doesn't care, but because it challenges him to confront parts of himself he has long kept hidden. This resistance creates an energetic chase where the feminine gives and the masculine pulls away. But something powerful happens when the feminine shifts. After enduring cycles of rejection, uncertainty, or emotional exhaustion, she reaches a point of awakening. She stops pouring her energy outward and begins turning it inward. No longer seeking validation or chasing the connection, she reclaims her energy and begins a journey of deep self-love, inner healing, and emotional sovereignty. This shift is not simply an emotional decision, it is an energetic realignment. She detaches, not with bitterness, but with grace. Her peace, strength, and clarity begin to radiate. This change creates a profound reversal in the dynamic. As the feminine anchors into her own wholeness, the masculine senses the shift in the energy field between them. No longer feeling pressured or pursued, he begins to feel a subtle, yet undeniable pull. What once felt overwhelming now feels magnetic. Her absence is not empty, it is filled with power, serenity, and light, and that light begins to draw him in. For the first time, the masculine feels a genuine desire to reconnect, not out of fear of being alone, but from an awakened longing to step into the truth of the connection. Her strength becomes irresistible, her presence deeply missed, and her love, no longer offered freely, becomes something sacred he must now earn. Thus, the roles reverse. The chaser becomes still, and the runner turns around, pulled not by ego, but by the soul's yearning to return to a love that was always meant to transform them both. Imagine a garden where one person waters the soil every day, even when no seeds seem to grow. That person is the divine feminine, nurturing, giving, hoping. She believes in the potential of the garden, even when it appears barren. Meanwhile, the divine masculine stands at a distance, unsure whether to step in. He watches but hesitates, afraid of investing in something he doesn't fully understand or trust. Over time, the feminine grows tired. Her watering can runs dry. She walks away, not out of anger, but because she realizes the garden must now grow from shared effort, not just her own. And something remarkable happens. In her absence, the masculine notices the silence. The garden begins to call to him. He sees the soil she once tended, and finally feels the emptiness where her presence used to be. He picks up the watering can she left behind. This is the moment of energetic reversal, not just an emotional shift, but a soul awakening. He is not drawn by obligation, but by the realization that the garden was never meant to be nurtured alone. It was always meant to be a sacred co-creation. Number 4. Healing the wounded masculine. For the divine masculine to fully embrace his role as the chaser in the twin flame journey, he must first face the inner shadows that have long prevented him from opening his heart. These shadows often stem from emotional wounds buried deep within, wounds shaped by childhood conditioning, heartbreak, and a culture that equates vulnerability with weakness. From an early age, many masculines are taught to suppress their feelings, to be stoic, strong, and emotionally detached. Over time, this emotional repression becomes a fortress, a protective barrier that keeps intimacy and true connection at arm's length. But the arrival of the divine feminine shatters this illusion. The bond they share is unlike anything the masculine has ever experienced. It is raw, intense, soul-deep, undeniable, and ironically, it's precisely because he feels this love so deeply that he runs. The connection awakens something primal, something sacred within him, stirring all the emotions he has worked so hard to avoid. The love doesn't just touch the heart, it exposes it. It brings his deepest fears, insecurities, and unresolved traumas to the surface. And when faced with this emotional avalanche, his instinct is to flee, to numb, to distract. He may immerse himself in work, lose himself in temporary relationships, or put physical distance between himself and the feminine. But no matter how far he runs, the connection remains. It haunts him in moments of stillness, whispers in dreams, and lingers in the spaces between distractions. Eventually, the futility of escape becomes clear. The pain of avoidance grows heavier than the fear of confrontation. And it is in this breaking point that the masculine begins to awaken. He steps into a new understanding. That true courage lies in vulnerability. That strength is not the absence of emotion, but the willingness to feel it all: grief, regret, longing, confusion, and love. This stage is not easy. It comes with inner chaos, emotional overwhelm, and the aching realization of what was lost through fear. But within this chaos, clarity is born. He begins to see that healing requires surrender, that growth demands honesty, and that to truly love the feminine, he must first return to himself. In facing his inner wounds, the masculine is not weakened, he is reborn. He transforms from a runner into a seeker, no longer driven by fear, but by love. And in this sacred act of healing, he becomes ready to meet his twin flame, not with defenses, but with devotion. Number 5. Reconciliation and proving transformation. When the divine masculine finally surrenders to his inner healing and allows himself to feel what he has long buried, a profound transformation begins. No longer does he view love as something threatening or overwhelming. Instead, he sees it for what it truly is, a divine gift, a mirror of his soul's potential. With this newfound clarity, he steps into his role as the chaser, not driven by fear, guilt, or obligation, but by a sincere and awakened desire to reconnect, to make amends, and to honor the love he once ran from. This shift in consciousness is not subtle. It often brings with it heartfelt apologies, soul-bearing conversations, and purposeful actions that reflect the inner growth he has undergone. He doesn't come back with promises alone. He returns with proof. Through his choices, his presence, and his vulnerability, He seeks to demonstrate that he is no longer the man who walked away. He is evolving, and he wants the feminine to see it, not to convince her, but to show her the truth of his transformation. Yet, reconciliation is not immediate. The divine feminine, having endured the pain of separation, may approach this return with caution. She has carried the weight of abandonment, confusion, and silent heartbreak. Her heart may long for reunion, but her soul demands authenticity. She wonders, is this a momentary awakening or a lasting transformation? Can she trust what she's hearing, or is it another illusion? Trust, once broken, must be rebuilt slowly and sincerely. Words alone no longer hold power. They must be backed by consistent, grounded action. The masculine's healing must be visible not only in what he says, but in how he shows up, emotionally available, accountable, and steady. Only when his behavior aligns with his intentions can the feminine begin to open her heart again. True reconciliation is not a single act, it is a journey. It requires both counterparts to meet each other in truth. The masculine must return not from a place of emptiness or regret, but from the richness of his growth. And the feminine, in time, must see in his presence a reflection of her own strength and wisdom. Only then can their reunion be rooted not in old patterns, but in the sacred soil of transformation. This moment in the twin flame journey marks a powerful turning point, where love meets accountability, and reunion is no longer a fantasy, but a possibility rooted in truth. But the path forward still holds lessons, challenges, and sacred opportunities for growth. Before we move on to explore the next phase of this journey, take a moment to reflect. Have you experienced a moment where someone's transformation challenged your ability to trust again? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, or simply type, "True healing takes time, but love is worth it," if this message resonates with you. Don't forget to like this video if you're finding it meaningful, and share it with someone who may need to hear these words. Number 6. The feminine's role in the new dynamic. As the divine masculine begins to step into the role of the chaser, the divine feminine enters an entirely new energetic space, one that calls for grace, strength, and deep inner wisdom. This is not a time for her to respond with resentment, impatience, or emotional reactivity, nor is it an invitation to lower her standards, revisit old wounds, or fall back into outdated patterns of overgiving and self-sacrifice. Instead, her role is to remain centered, grounded in self-worth, and to create a sacred container where true transformation can be witnessed and honored. The feminine must stay committed to her path of self-love. This means continuing to nurture her own growth, honoring her emotional needs, and resisting the temptation to control the outcome or chase validation. It is in this space of self-honoring that she builds magnetic strength, a quiet, unshakable presence that invites the masculine to rise, not through pressure or demand, but through inspiration and energetic alignment. Holding strong yet loving boundaries becomes her superpower. She doesn't need to push the connection forward or demand proof of devotion. Instead, she becomes the witness, observing whether the masculine's actions align with his words, whether his return is anchored in truth, consistency, and real inner change. In this delicate dance, her silence can speak volumes, and her stillness becomes a powerful mirror. This stage of the journey also calls for open-hearted communication. Gone are the days of reacting from fear, abandonment, or emotional chaos. Now the feminine speaks with calm clarity, expressing her truth with compassion and without attachment to the response. These moments of authentic dialogue allow for healing and mutual understanding, rather than triggering old cycles of pain. Ultimately, this phase is about sacred balance. The feminine must deeply trust the divine timing of the connection. If this bond is truly guided by something greater, it will unfold exactly as it is meant to. There is nothing she needs to force. By surrendering to the flow, staying aligned with her truth, and remaining in her power, she allows the energy to naturally lead both souls to where they are destined to be. Number 7. Alignment and spiritual union. When the divine masculine transitions into the role of the chaser, it signals a profound shift in the twin flame journey, a turning point that moves the connection from cycles of separation and longing into the realm of sacred alignment. This moment is not just about reunion, It's about redefinition. Both counterparts have traversed their inner landscapes, faced their shadows, and healed deep wounds. They no longer seek completion in each other, but instead meet from a place of inner wholeness and authentic self-love. Yet, contrary to popular belief, this is not the final destination. It is the threshold of a new and elevated beginning. True union goes far beyond physical closeness or romantic partnership. It is about vibrational harmony, where the spiritual, emotional, and mental energies of both souls align in divine coherence. In this sacred space, the connection transcends the personal and becomes a vehicle for higher purpose. Twin flames are not brought together merely to experience human love. They are called into union to anchor divine light on earth, to heal ancestral wounds, and to awaken collective consciousness. Their relationship becomes a living embodiment of unconditional love, service, and soul evolution. This phase of the journey calls for even deeper spiritual maturity. It requires both the masculine and feminine to remain committed to growth, not just as individuals, but as partners walking a shared path of light. Self-awareness, emotional accountability, and inner alignment must be maintained continuously. Challenges may still arise, as life's lessons do not cease with union. However, the difference now is that both souls are equipped to navigate difficulties with compassion, clarity, and wisdom. They have the tools, the love, and the spiritual insight to move through any storm, not in opposition, but in harmony. Spiritual union is not the end. It is the sacred unfolding of a divine mission. And as both souls rise into this purpose together, they become a beacon of hope, healing, and transformation for the world. Number 8. Surrendering to divine timing. One of the most powerful and transformative lessons in the twin flame journey is the art of surrender. This is not passive resignation, but rather a conscious and courageous release of fear, control, and expectation. At a certain point on the path, both the divine masculine and divine feminine are called to let go, not just of each other, but of their personal timelines, attachment to outcomes, and the illusion that they must orchestrate every step forward. It's in this sacred space of surrender that the true magic begins to unfold. Trusting in divine timing is not always easy. It often requires us to walk through darkness without a map, to remain open when the heart aches, and to believe in the unseen when there is no physical sign of progress. Yet, this trust is essential. The connection between twin flames evolves according to a higher order, one that is not rushed, forced, or manipulated. The reunion will occur when both souls are ready, when healing has taken place, and when the divine blueprint can be fulfilled. It happens not a second too early, nor a moment too late. When the long-awaited alignment finally occurs, and both the masculine and feminine rise into vibrational harmony, the result is nothing short of extraordinary. Their union becomes more than a love story. It becomes a spiritual event. Their connection radiates a powerful energy of healing, awakening, and transformation. Those around them can feel it. Their love becomes a living testament to what is possible when souls fully surrender, grow, and merge as one. It becomes a beacon, a light in the dark, for others on the same path, inspiring them to trust in their own journey. This path, however, is not for the faint of heart. It demands immense strength, deep inner work, and a willingness to face the shadows of the self. It is a journey of soul-level evolution, marked by moments of joy, pain, surrender, and revelation. But for those who have the courage to walk it with faith, patience, and trust in divine timing, the reward is immeasurable. It is a love that transcends all barriers, one that defies logic, space, and even lifetimes. It is a sacred love, a divine union, and a purpose-driven bond that blesses not only the two souls involved, but the world around them. When the divine masculine becomes the chaser, the entire dynamic of the twin flame journey shifts. It's a moment of awakening, vulnerability, and surrender, a sacred reversal that signals deep healing and alignment within the soul connection. No longer hiding behind fear or pride, the masculine begins to feel the pull of destiny with undeniable intensity. This shift doesn't just speak to reunion, it speaks to transformation. It challenges both souls to rise in love, not fall into it, and to recognize that true union is born not from pursuit, but from mutual surrender. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What part of this message resonated most deeply with your soul? Leave a comment below with this quote: "Chasing begins when the soul remembers." Let's create a space for shared insight and awakening. If this video touched your heart, please don't forget to like it, share it with others on this journey, and subscribe for more. And be sure to watch the next video appearing on your screen. It continues the message you were meant to hear.